it's never too old to reflect and change what you do, because there's no book on how to be a parent.
You always wish you had more time with people,
Always.
but you have to, like I said, find peace.
I remember him telling me this long before he passed, but he said he looked down at you and he would feed you and he would say, "Ray, Ray," and then you would look up and say, "Poppy."
Thank you for coming in and always being such a good sport. We're always, like you said, we never know what we're going to get,
We never know what we're gonna get.
but you're always up for a challenge. And that's what I like most about you, because you don't shy away from a challenge. So, here we are again.
Here we are again.
So, it's almost been a year since we last time we came, it was shortly after Africa.
Mm.
I think we came in here, right? And
Mhm,
talked
we
about
did.
it. It was before my birthday, but after Byron, so probably similar time. Who knows? Maybe even is a year since we.
Probably around it was probably, I'm gonna say, the end of October-ish. So a year,
Yeah,
give or take.
yeah. It's been
It's always fun.
it's been a busy year,
Has been a very busy year.
a full year. We've done a lot of fun things.
We have done a lot of travel.
Yeah,
Aruba for you for the first time,
yeah,
which is kind of exciting since I love it, and I wondered if you would,
yeah.
and you did. So that's great.
We absolutely
And
loved
the
it.
girls loved it.
And I think I loved it the most because a lot of vacations, they seem like, even though they're vacations, sometimes they just still feel like hectic, whether it's because you just don't know where you are, you're trying to do everything in a short period of time. Like Mexico was fun
Mhm.
last year, but it was
Different.
different, because we had a bigger group, and then dinners and everything are just have to be more planned. And, then it went by quick, and Aruba was nice.
Aruba's nice because I have a routine,
Hmm.
and I've been going there long, but it was nice to explore it and see things that I've never seen before, because when we go, or when I went, it was after working,
Hmm.
and it was a break, much needed break. Not that it wasn't now, but it gave us an opportunity to do some things differently, and it was really exciting. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we still did a lot in a short amount of
We
time.
did.
Like, even though the days were relaxing, we went to the beach and all that. The end, like doing all the, like, just discovering the island.
Mhm.
And I don't even remember the last 4 days, but I just feel like we did a lot.
We did a lot. We went on the tour. We
We
went
did.
to the national park. That was fun.
Yeah,
So there was a lot of good learning, I
Yeah.
think, for the girls too.
yeah,
It's nice to see that
Yeah.
they get excited, and they're very fearless.
yeah. They're always up for a good time. You know what I mean? As far as like bringing kids along, they usually, like, whether it's for a long walk or whether it's dinners or just anything we did, they seem to be good. Like, they were at the ocean with us all day.
Oh yeah,
One day.
they
Didn't
they're
even
good.
like come in one time,
Yeah, they enjoy it.
Yeah.
They enjoyed it. It was fun. It was a good time.
Yes.
Good time.
We had a full year. We did, yeah. It just seems like a whirlwind. It really does to me. Like,
It was a busy year. I mean, really, it was a busy year. Like to talk about today, the 1 year anniversary of a life well lived for Poppy. And you think, where did that year go?
mm-hmm.
And then Granny, and then here we are. It's just so fast. I think it makes you appreciate every day.
Mm-hmm.
As much as he had a life, a long life, I learned from watching him, because he started some new career at the age of 65, doing some things differently. And can you imagine, you're not even in the 60s, but here I am,
Mm-hmm.
and starting something brand new. So, to think about something brand new for me is to retire from a 43-year career.
Mm-hmm.
And then what do you do with that? So I think often about my father, your grandfather, and I think, how did he do that? Like, what inspired him to start something brand new when most of us at this age feel like golfing, fishing, or traveling? He started a new career path for himself.
Was he retired? Like, so when he decided to start the new career path, had it been some time since he first retired from whatever he was doing previous, or did he go
Yes.
right in?
Yes. So he had retired from being a, supervisor, consultant, if you will, for a local company in the Elmira area. And then when he retired, he focused on farming. But then he changed things up for himself. He farmed differently. He didn't do the cows anymore. He did sold his cows. I remember when he did that. And then he started raising Spanish boar goats, and he had them shipped from Texas. So he connected. I don't know how he did that, or how that conversation went, but he connected with a person in Texas who came to, and I met him. He came with his partner with 200 goats.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah,
So he did something different.
I'm trying to think of it because all right, so I was thinking in my brain how old Granny and Poppy were when I was born. So if
Mm.
Granny is 50 when I was born, Poppy was 52. So when I was born and I was on the farm with Poppy and looking back at childhood photos, because I only remember Poppy as a farmer. So
Mm.
I didn't know that he had so when he was a carpenter, he didn't
Oh.
farm because when I was little, so he would have been 52, 54, like when I'm 2, I just remember going down and he having all the stalls of the black and white cows and the, milk trucks coming. So he was farming it in his
He was
50s.
so he did both.
Mhm,
It was a hobby. So
mhm,
he would go to work.
mhm,
I remember my dad going to work,
mhm,
and then coming home, and in the summer, he was also was a farmer. So he did haying, we did haying. When I was in college, we'd come home and we would help him,
mhm.
but that's what he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when he retired, he said to me, I remember he retired right at 55, and then he changed. I don't wanna say it was a hobby because I don't think you could, perhaps you could, but the depth of knowledge for that hobby was pretty intense, you know?
Mhm,
So you would go from doing his construction work, if you will, to farming in full blown, and that's what he did, and he always said the I remember him saying to me, he loved working for himself. That was the ultimate, goal,
mhm.
was to work for himself. He had no one to answer to, and he could do whatever he wanted to do, and he did, so that's why I said it's a life well lived.
Mhm.
That's who can say that? Most people work for others.
Mhm.
So unless you are successful, um, and maybe you do something by yourself, but maybe it's not what you love, and he always loved what he did.
Yeah. I am happy that Poppy got to do what he loved up until he passed. Like,
Mhm.
really,
To the
he
day,
got to
yes.
finish it his way, even though he had sold the cows, and only
Mhm.
had a few left. He got to he still went down to the barn that morning that he
He
passed
certainly
away,
did, yeah.
So,
Cut the lawn,
yeah.
cut the
Yeah.
lawn that morning, yep.
Yeah, so he never had a period of time where he was just, like, home, couldn't leave the house, couldn't do what he wanted, like, he was still so that makes me when things happen that are, not what you want, but, you try to find some peace in them, like, I miss my grandparents, I miss knowing that you can just go to the farm and that they're there, or,
Yeah.
like, this is the day Poppy passed, but, like, was always a special month for me because it was, like, me and Gran shared our birthday week,
Mhm.
you know? Um, so it's just a different this is my first time, I think, in my whole life, yeah, where I haven't had you have the holidays, and whether you went and saw them or not, like, I always talk to the Gran on her birthday, or you just always knew whether you were there or not that, like, Poppy was probably doing his Christmas Eve
Mhm.
dinner, and something was happening
Mhm.
at the farm that he was there. So it's just, it's a different feeling, and you have to kinda try to find peace within all the feelings that you're feeling. So
You do.
I always try to
Mhm.
just look at the bright side of it, like, okay, well, he wasn't, like, suffering, and he
No.
got to do what he loved, and
And think about you visiting him
yep,
as
very
and that
thankful
was,
for that.
that's a big deal. I think I was looking at the pictures last night of you and Victoria and Vivian, and Poppy and the cat, and what a nice thing to have that photo of all the girls. I think that was lovely, and then like you said, he got to do what he wanted to do until the day that he passed, and he passed, I think, with dignity because my dad, Poppy, he was very organized, very regimented, um, he did nothing. It wasn't by chance that he did the things he did. They were purposeful. He wanted his lawn a certain way. He wanted his house a certain way. He wanted his coffee a certain way. He liked his cocktail hour a certain way. And I remember the day that the morning he passed, it was Mary's birthday, and she invited me to go to the Corning Museum of Glass, which I haven't been to in thousands of years, so it seems. And I stopped at his house because prior to that morning, I picked up his laundry and I told him I'd bring it back, which I did. And my dad was always worried about the farm and what would happen with the farm. And I remember walked in. It was a nice November day, and he was sitting there having his coffee, and he had gone down to the barn already just for a minute. And he was always on his mind was what's going to happen to this place when he passes away. And I brought him his clothes, clean clothes. He asked me if I wanted coffee. I didn't because I know he always makes only a certain amount of cups. But I stood there in the window looking outside, and I said to him, Dad, like we had just had the conversation. I said, "Don't worry about it." I said to him, I'll buy this farm. You can stay here and I'll make it into a golden retriever farm." And he looked at me. I remember he looked up at me and he said, "You would?" And I said, "Yes, I would." And I giggled. I remember giggling like I am now. And he said, "And what would you do with your house in Elmira?" And I said, "I would sell it." And then I gave him a hug, and I went on my way, and he did his thing, and he called me. I think it was like 11 o'clock, and he was having some breathing issues, and then he passed later that day. But the conversation, which I think always gives me peace, is that we had a conversation. We had dinner Friday night. So when to my point is you visited, Poppy, the grandchildren visited, and when you do that, the gift of time is something, um, that you can't replace with a gift of Jameson, for example. It's the gift of time, giving of yourself, and he loved that.
Yeah. I mean, the last few visits, I had a lot of fun with Poppy. I was glad. Like, he was having fun with Vivian,
Yeah.
you know? And I just remember how, like, just riding in the car with him, you know? And I was scared
Oh,
because he
yeah.
was driving so fast, but it was like a fun thing and going going into the
I know,
DMV,
yeah.
and I have to go back out because 'cause he's got this big knife in his
I
pocket,
remember you telling
you
me that
know?
one, yeah,
But
yeah,
we had fun and, we had a good fish fry with him,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
loved asking him questions and hearing all his knowledge,
yeah, yeah,
so you always wish you had more time with people,
always.
but you have to, like I said, find peace. So my peace in that is that I was purposeful and when and then I had good time with him the last few times that I went, so
Yeah. No, it is. You wish that we would be here forever, but we're not. And it's nice. Like you never know. So it's always, I think that Poppy died the way with dignity. Like you said, didn't have to go to the hospital. He was home. He passed away. And I think that to him, I know that meant a lot. I meant a lot to him. So today we celebrate a life, I would say a life well lived.
Mhm.
Do we miss him? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think we'll always miss him, you know? You just miss the people that you're close with, and you always just wish you could have one more laugh with them or one more hug. So, um, I hope that as years go on, this day, I can always still find peace in it.
Mm.
Like as sad as I'll be, and as I just hope that I can always, on this day, smile a little, you know?
Yeah, it was nice. We went to church this morning. I think it was it was good. It was a good thing to do, but, it's funny, that what reflect on are the conversations that were not led by me in the I would say, the last year of my father living, but really things that he wanted to share. Like, for whatever reason, remember the bottles of wine that were labeled by you and Byron. Remember, I brought a bottle back to him, and he drank the wine, and I found the bottle, the empty bottle. He saved it, and over your over you, he put Ray Ray,
Oh,
and he was telling me a story when he was eating cereal with you.
yeah. Yeah.
So it's not even I think, it was good that he was able to everything he wanted to maybe he had in his heart, he just shared it. 'Cause people don't do that necessarily, especially Poppy's generation, 89 years old. I mean, people keep it close to the vest, and people change over time, and people don't change over time. At least his reflection of him as a dad, I think, as a son, let me go back to as a son, as a brother, as a father, and as a grandfather, he he reflected and his behavior changed over time. Because can you imagine having 8 children?
No.
I could not imagine that. I have to say 2 is for me, 2 was perfect because life is so different. It was different for me as a kid as it is different for my sons, but, Poppy, at least, one of the things that I learned, one of the many things I learned from him is it's never too old to reflect and change what you do because there's no book on how to be a parent. There is no book, and you do the best that you can, and remember, we unfortunately or fortunately, we tend to do what our parents did because we learn what we lived, and if we live in love and happiness, then we carry that through, but if we don't live like that, and my dad used to say to me about my grandfather, who I only met when I was, 1, it was a challenge because he didn't know how to be a parent. And so, my dad I know my dad struggled. My dad struggled with doing that, but in the end, what mattered is that he took some time to reflect, and he made the changes that I think made him the best dad, really, to me. My father was a terrific man,
Yeah, but
you
then you
know?
have to look at the other side of it, which is you, right? So you opened yourself up and were there to receive Poppy. Not
Mm,
all of his kids did that.
no.
Not all of his kids gave him the opportunity to even for him to
Mm,
show them that if he wanted to change or if he wanted to have a different relationship with them,
mm,
So it was nice that even though Poppy may have changed, it was nice that you were there to receive it because
mhm.
he needed that.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
needed someone to receive whatever it was that he was
mm,
giving. So, you have to look at it like that too, like, you're lucky
mm.
that you were at a place in your life where
I could
you
take the time,
yeah,
yeah.
and you
Oh,
were
yeah, yeah,
capable, like, you have all those other
yeah,
siblings, and nobody else was the way you were with Poppy
yeah.
necessarily to that degree,
It's
and
fu yeah. It's funny because Aunt Rose, who took care of Granny,
mhm.
and I didn't take care of my dad like Aunt Rose did to that great detail, but, we would things that our parents do, you could make a silly list of them, but I remember because of the respect that we learned, you would never question, like, you just okay, and I remember finally getting the courage to say to my father, like, "Dad, when I do something, it would, be kinda nice if he said thank you." And that was huge for me to say to my father,
Mhm.
like, huge. And, it wasn't any bad thing or good thing, it was just a thing that I felt, and he started to. And I thought, we're
Yeah.
never too old.
Yeah.
We're never too old, and even to this day, like the conversations I have with my own kids, you know, we're learning If we stop learning, shame on us because we should be learning every single day.
Mhm.
We learned something today in church. I learned something today when the priest said, when we pray or we ask God for whatever we want, let's think about that for just a moment. Yeah, we do ask. Hey, I ask for things I want, not monetarily so much, but um or yeah, not let's say just not monetarily or frivolous things, but I'll ask like, boy, I need some strength. But today I learned to ask for the things that we need because God knows that we need them. And
Mhm.
I thought, wow, so what I asked for, I truly believe that my siblings need to open their heart to embrace and change what they're going through, the pain that they feel. That's what I believe that I need in my life as we move forward to honor my parents. Because my parents, think about it. My dad and my mom were in their early 20s. They got married. They moved from Long Island, the hustle and bustle in the 60s of Long Island, to the country. And I remember Rosa, my niece Rosa, she would say, "Oh, Aunt Teresa, I remember coming up to Aaron. It was so quiet and spooky." Well, could you imagine what it was like for Granny and Poppy? We didn't have cell phones. We had a party line,
Probably it was
Rachel.
quiet and dark.
Right. They had a party line. I remember going to the phone and I would hear other people communicating on the phone
Mhm.
and I remember saying, "What is this?"
Mhm.
You know? And and what a change from just picking up the phone and calling to sharing a phone line with your neighbor.
Yeah, I never heard of such a thing.
Yep, right. But could you imagine?
No.
My father, a
No.
businessman from Long Island, and my mom, a girl from Woodside, Queens, in
No.
upstate New York. You'd look outside and the only lights you would see are the stars in the sky.
So I'm sure the environment was a shock, like literally the
Sure.
environment, the stars in the
Mhm,
sky and the quiet and the
mhm,
smells and the noises, right?
mhm,
But then also like imagine, like when you go different places, like the people that you encounter,
mhm.
like the type of people
Oh,
versus
yes.
like city people
Yes.
versus country people. It
Yeah.
was just probably a huge just like
Huge
shell
difference
shock.
because my mom being Granny, being part Mexican. Her mother was all Mexican. Her dad was German. So it was different for her. And she didn't like that. I remember my dad would have to travel to Long Island. I remember being in that house. It was so cold. And I remember um, just so different, so different. In Long Island, our house was bigger. It was in the city. We had our friends, and what a difference. So, I would say, good, good for my parents to do what they did, and just have, you know, just be good parents. Like my dad always said to me, I'll always remember, get your education, and no one can ever take that education away. And your parents say things to you, and you're like, huh. But I remembered when my dad said that to me, I really took it to heart, and I did because, who knew I was gonna get divorced? I never would have thought of that, but because I continued to get my education and I have 2 master's degrees, never thought when I was at Spencer Vannetten, little teeny school, that I would ever have that much education, but it certainly opened doors for me and allowed me a nice little life for myself, and my dad was very encouraging like that.
Mhm.
Granny too. Like, I remember I always wanted to be like Granny because she could type, remember her little typewriter?
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
a manual
Gran was
typewriter,
always clicking and
right?
clacking. Yeah.
So, those are the things that your parents teach you, maybe not purposefully, but you watch them,
Yeah.
and you learn every day.
Yeah. See, like this is giving me peace, reminiscing.
Mm.
This is
Mm.
this is a nice thing to
Mhm.
some people don't have their grandparents. Some people
No,
and
I thought of that this morning. I said, "Wow." For through my whole adult life, um, when the kids were little, when they were teenagers, and when they went to college, Granny was my,
Mhm.
passenger in the car.
Mhm.
She went everywhere with us to
Mhm.
watch every cross country meet the kids ever participated in.
Mhm.
And who could, that was really fun
Yeah.
for her and for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
It was nice. And then later on, when the kids went to school, Poppy's just down the road. We'd have our dinners Friday night, and I loved when I brought a good bottle or just a bottle of champagne, and we would have Chinese, and we'd drink a bottle of champagne. It was
Mhm.
fun.
Yeah.
It was a fun time. It was a nice time, and not many people can say that they had their parent until the parent was 80, in the late 80s.
Yeah.
Probably was gonna be 90 in January, so, yeah, it was a lovely thing,
Yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
And he loved he could tell a story, I think, about most of his grandchildren,
Mhm.
about most, but his was when you were little, and I remember well, it's funny because of Victoria being little now, but even Vivian, but mostly Victoria because she likes Cheerios, and Poppy said used to sit on his lap, and he would pour his Cheerios and put the milk, and you would start eating his Cheerios
Mhm.
or he would feed you, but he would say that I remember him telling me this not long before he passed, but he said he looked down at you and he would feed you and he would say, "Ray, Ray," and then you would look up and say, "Poppy."
Yeah, I always remember sitting on Poppy's lap and eating
Mhm.
not necessarily Cheerios, but I always remember the buttery noodles and the breadcrumbs, and I always remember the kibasi and the potatoes,
Oh, yeah.
and helping him. I'd go on the counter by him, and he'd be making his tea, right? He'd make
Oh, yeah.
that
The Mark tea.
the
Lipton
the
tea with the
junky Lipton tea, and whenever he would make toast or, like, anything, he would just use a lot of
butter.
butter.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, it was.
everything tasted better that Poppy made,
Mhm.
you know? Um, so although it's a long time ago, like, you always hold those memories, like, close. Even when I look in we found when we were cleaning the closet, the
Oh, he
photos there,
oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
he
yeah.
just looked like such a proud grandpa,
Oh, yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
Fun times. Fun times.
fun
But I
times for
think he's up
sure.
in heaven with all the rest of them,
Yeah.
having a PBR and resting for a change.
Right. He probably is resting. He's probably doing
Probably
something.
raking the clouds.
Uh, you know, so yeah, we love Poppy.
Yeah. So tonight, our cocktail will be Aunt Rose said to me last night she had a a shot of Jameson, which was one of his, I don't wanna say desired cocktails because he was more like Poppy drank I remember going to the store for him. His He drank the same whiskey for was it Four Roses or something Canadian Club was very inexpensive, but it was, that's he said, "My day is over, I'm sitting down," and that's what he did,
Yeah,
like most Americans.
yeah. Good for him.
But, yeah, so it was good, it was good,
Yeah.
good stuff.
Well,
Lots of traditions,
yeah,
so let's talk about that.
yeah.
Think about your growing up in our household or growing up in our family and the traditions that we took away, so here we have Thanksgiving coming up.
Mhm.
Now Poppy, he just didn't embrace it. Like, I'd ask him, "Hey, you wanna come over?" And he would say, "Teresa, it's just like a regular day." And he didn't even want me to bring him a plate of food.
Really?
No,
I wonder why.
just I don't know, maybe he didn't like turkey.
Oh,
He didn't like turkey. Granny liked turkey,
yeah.
but
But did we never do Thanksgiving at the farm?
we did, but I think Christmas Eve was
That
most.
was I remember Christmas Eve for
Yeah,
sure, but
Christmas Eve was it.
yeah,
That was, the, the big deal, if you will. That
yeah.
was the Oscar of this holiday season. But he was more prone to Christmas Eve and preparing for Christmas Eve than turkey. Although, when we moved up to the country, we would grow turkeys. And I remember he taught us how to not me necessarily, but he would bring the bird in and we would clean, yeah, the feathers off the bird,
Mm,
you know?
mhm.
All the things that my father, your grandfather taught, um, and we learned growing up. Like sometimes if I see a bird and I'm like, "Oh, you don't know that, but that's part of the feather,"
Mhm.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
But so Thanksgiving is coming up. I think I'm very thankful this
Yeah.
year. Lots
Yeah.
of new things in my life
Uh-huh.
to be thankful for.
Yeah.
Some old, some won't, some are like stuck to me, but lots of good things to be thankful for.
Mhm.
Like look at the traveling, like you said we did.
Mhm. Yeah, no, the traveling's always very nice, making memories. I'm thankful for just the fact that I'm able to travel with the kids and do
Mhm.
so many things and make so
Mhm.
many memories. And, um, it's crazy to watch them grow so
Oh,
quick.
so fast.
Like Vivian's
So
birthday
fast.
is this year. It's on Thanksgiving. And it feels like yesterday that I was going to the hospital to be induced on Thanksgiving to go have her. And, like, I feel like it was, like, I remember just, like, being that pregnant and just
Yeah.
and, like, making Thanksgiving the day before, making Thanksgiving again the day of, doing it early so that I was done by 2 so that I could go back, get my bag, be to the hospital by 5:30 or 6. Um, and that she's gonna be 5.
I know. Well, last night when I was carrying her, I haven't carried Viv in a long time.
Mhm.
She is so tall,
Mhm.
and I carried her, and I looked down, and I said, "I remember meeting her."
Yeah.
And I have that photo of her when we were together watering the plants, and she's little teeny,
She's
and
2.
she was like this, and her feet were maybe hanging off my arm, and she's just so tall.
I know.
And looking at her, and I said when I was walking her to carrying her to the bedroom, I said, "Vivian, where did the time go?"
I know.
And now look at the baby.
I know the baby's getting too big too quick.
She's
Like
so
like last
grown.
night when she was saying stuff and she's, like, talking, it just makes you, like,
Mm,
stop for a second because you can't believe that she's, like,
mhm,
saying these
mhm,
things. I'm like, "What did you just say?" And
mhm.
she was like,
She's been developing her own personality.
"Yeah," and it just happened
Very,
so quick. It
yeah,
just like, within 3 or 4 months, a
yeah,
huge change happens
yeah.
where they go
Huge
from
little
just, like,
baby,
fetal baby, like, can't do anything to now, like,
very independent. She's very
yeah,
independent.
and
Well,
she's so
so is
confident.
Vivian. Yeah, yeah, very, very much so. The both of them. And it's funny. Um, what did Peyton say? She said something about her like saying no, but the kids at this age, the little ones, they're like little sponges, and they hear like she's heard the word
Yeah,
before.
but she'll be like,
Yeah,
"No, stop,
yeah,
wait,
yeah.
no, don't," and you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
you know?
Yes, she's fun. She's
Yeah.
fun. But it's funny because when we were talking to Chris the other day, I thought of Victoria, and I thought of Christy, and I said to Christy, I sent her a little text. I said, "Christy, it was like yesterday that you were little like Victoria, and we were doing fun things, and we were,
Mhm.
and you too, right?" And like, there's no way if I'm 29, there's no way you guys are approaching,
Yeah.
the
Yes.
next milestone
Mhm.
because women never tell their age.
Right.
But, like I'm like, wow, how did that happen?
Yeah.
How did that happen? But no, it's fun. It's fun. The girls are fun. The girls are fun.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to, Thanksgiving, although I do like cooking and that's fun. I'm glad this year just because her birthday's on Thanksgiving and the
Mm.
whole day would have been consumed with cooking. So we're gonna go out to eat for Thanksgiving and then a movie comes out that she wants to see on her
Oh, fun.
birthday. And then we'll probably go to Busch Gardens and let them walk around and that'll be fun. So that'll be a day where it'll still give the Thanksgiving feel where we'll sit down and have a meal, but we'll still get to do stuff so Vivian will still feel like it's her
Mhm.
birthday.
Mhm.
Because as a child that
Right.
has a birthday near Christmas, like, it always kinda sucks. It does, like,
Right.
having your birthday the week before
Right.
Christmas, it was just nobody could ever do anything.
Right.
It was the first day of usually Christmas break where people
Oh, right.
it's usually, like yeah, it's a week before Christmas, so people are starting to leave to go on vacation or to go do things,
Right.
so you can never have a birthday party,
Right.
and then it's,
Right.
like, Christmas, so you just kinda get forgotten about or you get not as many gifts
You don't
as
get
if your
right.
birthday was in a different month because your parents are spending money on the other 3
Right.
kids because it's Christmas, so you're always feeling slighted. Um, no, so I just wanted Viv to feel like she was
Yeah.
having, like, a
Yeah.
good day, but
And you can cook, like, even
Mhm.
when she loves to cook.
Mhm.
Like I said to you, when she was I was, like, startled. I'm like, "Wow, this little girl, she knows." So we were baking. So
Mhm.
you can do those little things like baking the muffins and her holding the electric mixer,
Mhm.
and I was just teaching her and so that the batter wouldn't fly all over, and she did a really great job. So even though you may not have that traditional sit down at your house,
Mhm.
you create new traditions for yourself
Mhm.
because so much has changed.
Mhm.
So much has
Yeah.
changed. And so it's okay for you to take a moment too, because Rachel, like Miles was talking to us about running yesterday and
Mhm.
how fast,
Mhm.
the sprint versus the jog versus like that's a long distance race. Anyway, the point being is that you're on a full blown sprint every day.
Mhm.
So it's okay to take a moment to do it differently based on your needs because you have 2 little people.
Mhm. Yeah, well, you get to a point where you realize in your life that you don't wanna always be so busy that you don't enjoy anything,
Right.
right? So, it's her birthday, it's Thanksgiving, I wanna enjoy her birthday, and I want to enjoy Thanksgiving. So, although I'm capable and I could cook, and I've cooked the last 8 years of
Mhm,
Thanksgiving, 10 years of Thanksgiving,
mhm,
hosted them, cooked them at other people's houses, like,
mhm,
I've done that, and I know that I can do that. It takes away from the day, because by
mhm.
the time it's time to sit down,
You're
I'm
exhausted.
exhausted from cooking
Mhm,
all day, and then I have to pack it up and then clean it up, and then you're just, like, not feeling your best because you're just
mhm.
exhausted from all that you've done. So, last year, we went out to eat, and it was so nice because you could just get ready and go, and then you have your, nice dinner, and then when you're done, you can go home and you're not, like, overtired or have all of this. So, I even made the reservation early in the day. Like, we're having Thanksgiving at like 11:30,
Oh, nice.
right?
That's
So we're gonna
nice.
go at 11:30, and then the movie's at 1, so the girls won't be exhausted,
Mhm,
and so we'll be
mhm,
able to have an enjoyable time, not like 5 or 6 where they're tired by that
mhm.
time. So everything was planned well, and I'm hoping that by doing it, at first I was, like, feeling a little guilty, like, "Oh, I'm not
Oh,
cooking," but then I'm like, "You know what? I cook every
every day.
single
And
day
you
of my
cook
life, basically
yeah.
Thanksgiving."
Well, it's not the way and really, th the way that you cook, it's not hamburgers, it's these extravagant meals,
Yeah.
so the kids are used to that. So it's okay to take it to reflect and say, "Hmm, what do I wanna do differently?" Because, like, this morning, I said to the kids that I would send a list of what I need because I'm out of town, and I got tired at the end thinking to myself, "Oh my goodness sakes, l just let me have a turkey sandwich." No, but,
No, it's
from
so
all the
true.
things that
No,
we
it's
do,
so
like
true
all the
because
tr
every
yeah,
year when you're
it's
cooking,
huge.
I'm always like, because whoever you're doing it with, or if you're doing it yourself, you're both, "Hey, what are we making? What are the recipes? Let's get a list together." And even if you try to keep it simple with just the staples,
Mhm.
it's still you're
It's
cooking like
huge.
7 different
Right, it's
things.
huge. It's
Even if it's
huge.
just, oh, you're boiling potatoes and mashing them,
Right,
and sweet potatoes and this and that, but when you're like you or I and you cook like very well,
right.
right?
With a
Nothing's
passion,
Ever
yeah.
Nothing's gonna be just, like,
No,
thrown on the stove. We're not taking box mashed
no,
potatoes
no,
and making them,
no.
so we're still peeling X amount of
Right.
potatoes and this and that, and you want them perfect, and you're whipping them, and you want them the right temperature. It's still
Mhm.
very much a whole
Mhm.
thing,
Mhm.
production that day,
Mhm.
and when I've done it in the past, and probably similar to you, like, you're pretty much doing it yourself. You may have
Mhm.
a few hand here or there, but for the most part,
I'll
like,
only have a bartender,
yeah,
probably Stephen or Will,
yeah. So that's,
but
still
but
a busy day. You're
but it's a
still,
busy day.
you know?
It's a busy day
And then, you want your table to be perfect, and so you're gonna make your table all nice, and you're gonna have to get the dishes out and then clean them and then put them back because 'cause they're in a cupboard you never
that
use.
you never yeah, absolutely.
So it's
But
just the whole
it's
thing.
it's fun though because like every recipe or every ingredient to the recipe, I've been doing these recipes for years.
Mhm,
Like, so cranberry salad,
mhm,
Aunt Rose gave me that. I probably lived in Albany at the time,
mhm.
years ago. Mrs. Armstrong gave me the stuffing recipe. I don't know that I can make it as well as she, but I'm going to give it a try. But no, everything we do, everything we do. Same thing with Christmas Eve. The
That was fun
Christmas
last year.
Eve.
We did Christmas Eve
Oh, that
last
was
year.
really
Like,
good.
I had never made pierogies, you
Oh,
know? So,
no.
like,
Huh.
that was fun,
Okay.
and, that's something this year.
Did Chelsea
I
come
don't
over?
know if she came on Christmas or a few days before or after or what, but I know
Maybe
she helped us, so I'm
before.
trying to think why she was in Florida to even come make them. Maybe she had to go to her condo because something had happened there and
Oh,
she needed to do it, so she was in
okay.
town, but, um, even for Christmas, so I'm not gonna be here this year. I haven't gone I've never done this where I've gone to my dad's for Christmas, but, um, I do always look forward to, like, Christmas Eve,
Mm.
like, the traditional Christmas Eve, and not doing that this year will be a little bit different because I think I've always, in some capacity, had it
Mhm.
on Christmas Eve. You know,
Mhm.
some people do it
Dinner,
Christmas
right.
Day.
Yeah, the dinner.
I don't think at my dad's we'll do it Christmas
Yeah.
Eve. I don't think that's what.
It'll be different, like
Mm,
Steven said to me that he Will's not going to be home because he has to work. Steven's not sure, but they'll be home for Christmas. It's just gonna look different.
mhm,
And so I think about that and I think, "Huh."
mhm,
Then I say to myself, It's okay because it's less about the day, the exact day, and more about being with people that you love or who you love and doing fun things." Like I said to Steven, maybe we take a drive or, on
mhm,
the day because his brother won't be home.
mhm,
But, it's fun to experience something new
mhm,
because the most important thing is that you're with people who you love,
mhm,
you know?
mhm.
And your dad's probably excited to show off his
Mhm.
you know,
Well, and he's
new
excited because, like,
changes.
Christy's gonna come with Ava and
Oh,
me. My dad's excited because, like, I'm gonna be there, I think, on Christmas Eve, Christy and maybe Sydney, but maybe
oh,
Sydney's, like, not gonna be there Christmas Day, but, like,
okay.
for the most part,
Oh, that's nice.
all the kids that can be there are
Oh,
gonna be there, so
yeah,
that'll be nice. I don't think he's like I said, I don't think I'm usually home on Christmas. I don't usually go away on
right,
Christmas because I have the girls and
right,
it's Christmas, like, we have to open presents and
right.
things, so that'll
Yeah,
be a
when
little
they're little.
different. But,
It'll be nice.
yeah, I'm excited to
Christmas
take
and
the girls to see
yeah,
snow.
yeah.
Like Vivian had fun at Poppy's when it snowed
Yes,
last year,
yes.
and Victoria was too little, but now, you know, she might have
He'll enjoy
fun,
the cold.
for a second.
Yeah.
Everybody always, like, fantasizes snow and likes snow, but she lasts, like, 30
Yeah,
minutes, and
yeah.
then you're like, "Alright, I'm over the snow." So, but
That's
that
nice to get together, but
yeah.
yeah, the holidays are coming up fast.
But I think from as soon as August hits, because then you go right into school,
Mhm.
after I get back from
Oh,
Vegas,
yes.
the end of the year
Yeah,
always flies by
yeah.
because every month there's something. You have August school starting, right? And then September's usually busy with sports and just getting,
Mhm,
used to a schedule. And then, you have Halloween and you
mhm,
have Thanksgiving and you have Byron's birthday and Vivian's birthday and my birthday and
mhm,
Vegas and Christmas and New Year's, and it just
mhm.
flies by.
It does.
It just
Went by
goes by so
fast.
quick, like, even the fact that we're gonna
Yes.
come back on another vacation to Puerto Vallarta or another
Mhm.
vacation, to Aruba, which we pay for out of our own pockets. No.
Yeah, no fund.
Um, but, like,
Yeah,
it comes like Victoria,
yeah,
she just was turning 1, like, I
yeah,
remember I was just having a baby shower, just having
yeah,
her, and now she's gonna be
yeah.
2,
She's so silly.
you
Yeah.
know?
No, and that's why you have to
But
take the time,
yeah.
enjoy them.
And that brings me to the next thing I just wanna touch on, which is, you being able, like, for the most part, like, you since retirement, like, you've been doing a lot. You've
I
been
know.
having like, a good time, like, a
That's
fun
what people tell me.
that, like, good for you, because some people maybe retire and then they just don't know what to do with themselves or
It is an
can't.
adjustment, though. Like,
Yeah.
you have to be Aunt Rose and I talked about it this yesterday. Like I said, she said, "Teresa, who knew that you would be here, like in Florida, doing what you're doing?" And I said, "Yeah, you never know." And I think to that point, like, huh, so things are great. And people say to me, "Wow, you look like you're having a great time," which I am. But
Yeah.
you don't know. Like I started working and it's funny because my kids did the same, but summer for the youth bureau
Mhm.
in Elmira, New York, the youth bureau. So I did summer cohesion. I worked summer cohesion, worked Ithaca College when I was old enough to drive. and then I just haven't stopped. And I was in education for 43 years, 43 years. And the interesting thing about this is once I took the app off my phone to get the notifications because they were still notifying me just in case there was a need for me to go back, contractually. Once I took it off, I had a real epiphany, like, "Did I even work in my life?" I really don't f I feel like I've been do No, I feel like I've been doing this forever.
Right, yeah.
I really do, and it's kind of an interesting, "Hmm, like, who knew that I
Ye
could stop?" But I can't stop,
But this is the thing, like,
but I can't
you and
stop.
after being around you, and I wasn't joking when I called you the ever ready buddy bunny. Like, no matter what you're doing, you weren't just clocking into an 8 to 5 and being done.
Oh,
Even this
no.
last year when you weren't having to be in the office every single day and you could do some remote days or you were doing whatever, like, you still you would get your work done in your 6 hours or however long you needed to do your work, but then when you weren't doing that, you weren't just, like, laying on the couch, like, we
Oh,
don't
no.
just like how you say, "I don't stop,"
Yeah,
like,
we
we
can't.
don't
Yeah,
stop,
we
you don't stop
yeah.
ever either, like, you
No,
know
I
what I mean?
can't.
So retirement, yes, you could have retired from that specific task that you were tasked with for the
Mhm.
last 43 years to provide income, but as you know, even when you go home and you're not here busy with the hustle and bustle, you're still always having lots of things and tasks to conquer when you're home.
Mhm.
So retirement doesn't just mean you stop living. You
No.
honestly may be busier because now
I
you have
think
time outside
right.
of those work hours, those things that had you confined to being in certain places and doing certain
Mhm.
things. Now your whole world's opened with all this other things or tasks or hobbies or just, things that you wanna do. So, you may actually be living a fuller, busier life
I think I am
than when
busy,
you were
but
working.
I I well, that's what I said. I remember, Granny Armstrong said this because she worked probably until she was in her mid-60s, but she said, "How do you get everything done? How did we do that with the schedule?" Being a single mother, how did I do that? Raising 2 successful and I'm very proud of that,
Mhm.
kids, How did you do that and still have a minute to get your nails done and get your hair done
Have that
and
lipstick and
have that
those
lipstick
heels.
and those heels on? Like, how do you do it? And now it's very interesting because I enjoy projects. I like a good project, and I get such satisfaction in seeing I don't even care what it is I'm doing,
Yeah.
but seeing it done and done, like, to that level where
Mhm.
we could get T-shirts,
Mhm.
and wear them and
Every
advertise
time we
the
have a
job
mini
well done.
project,
Yeah.
whether it's the projects we've been doing as of late or projects that we had started early in the year, when you do them or you get them done, you're like, "Huh, I
Yeah.
did it and I'm capable and I
Mhm.
can do it." And it just kinda, like, puts another badge on your vest of, like,
Mhm.
what you're capable of doing. Because you're doing that, and me as it heavily in my mom mode, like, I'm doing that and I'm still doing everything else in the
Mhm.
house or everything else as a parent that you're tasked with, and you're still getting it done. You know what I mean?
And then
And
do it well.
yeah,
And, the
yeah.
interesting part is I think and this is why when I was working with the kids this weekend and they may not do it the way that we do it,
Mhm.
it's okay that they don't because the learning comes from doing it their way. And if I were to say, "You know what? No, 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 you didn't do it right. I'm gonna do it my way," they're never gonna learn. So when we were growing up, like, I remember Poppy teaching, like, watching him do things mechanical, like, he fixed everything, he painted, and just watching him taught me so that when we were doing our little projects, I reflected on, how did he do that? What did I learn?" And then today, we can do them
Mhm.
because we're not afraid of doing them.
Mhm.
And I think just encouraging each other to try it, what's the worst gonna happen?
Mhm. We're either fix it or we're not,
Right.
especially if, like, we're starting with something that it needs repair. We're not gonna make it any worse than it
No,
is,
we're not.
because you're either gonna have to bring somebody in to do it like how it is in the state now, or you're gonna try, but a lot of times and this comes even, like, when you go out to eat and you're like, "Wow, I coulda made that better
Right.
myself," right?
Mhm.
You get to a point where you're like, "These are just regular people
Mhm.
doing things," right? Whether they
Mhm.
took it on as a career or some things obviously, like, you have to be trained for. But a lot of things like I'm capable just like you're capable of doing, and I usually do it better than the people that are doing it. So that
Mhm.
sometimes you just get to a point and you're like, I could have did that, and
Mhm.
then you do it and you're like, I can do that.
Mhm.
And once you get over that first initial like fear of uncomfortableness or like the fear of like I just don't like messing stuff up. I don't,
Right. No, I
like
am
that
there. I'm
perfection
there.
that you have in you just
Right.
wanting to do
I'm
stuff.
still waiting to hang the picture because I don't want it to fall.
It's not gonna fall.
But I'm still waiting
Right.
because that's what we learn,
Right.
and I think that give us we should pat ourselves on the back because it's a challenge and we're not afraid of it.
Mhm.
We don't fear it. So what's the worst gonna happen? The the nail doesn't go in the wall right and it falls down, so we have to patch it again. That's okay.
Yeah.
But if we don't take the risk, then we don't learn anything.
I
And
learned that.
that's
I learned that with watching Byron. He's
yeah.
a he's not like a risk taker, like per se, but he will do something having never done it before,
Mhm.
right? Having no guidance, having no mentor, having nobody to tell him how to do it or
Mhm.
how to delegate doing it or just anything, right? And then he does it, and most things succeed, like with just with greatness, and then other things maybe don't pan out that way, but he's
Mhm.
never afraid to start something new. He's never afraid to take that big step, that big change from whatever he was doing that he was maybe comfortable in because, he
Mhm.
just is that's something that, if you don't do it, if you don't try it,
Mhm.
no one else is going to do it for you. They're going to do it themselves and they're going to do it, but it's like always it'll be a missed opportunity or a missed chance for you. So,
And I think the girls will learn from that,
mhm.
the kids will learn from that.
Yeah.
They watch him.
Well, you'd think the
They
kids watch
watch.
everything, so you're
Oh, they
hoping that they're
watch. They
watching
watch.
the
Yes.
important things more than
Yeah.
just,
Yeah. Yeah.
watching to tell you what you're doing wrong or
Ah.
you're because mom is not listening.
Vivian's
Because she's
famous
not
words.
doing it fast.
What did he tell Steven yesterday? What'd
Oh,
she
yeah, my
say?
mom has me doing gymnastics, and I don't
I
even
didn't
like
like
it.
it. But, the thing is with the girls and with Miles, like, they have to keep engaged. They're not gonna love us. They're not gonna love us, but you know what? We're their parents, and sometimes that happens. But if
Mhm.
we stop doing what we believe and we know based on our experiences, is best for them, if we stop it, then
No.
we're not being good parents, or good grandparents or aunts. I mean, I think the exposure that they're getting. You don't have to do again like the baby. Here she is yesterday in gymnastics. Here's the task, and she just loved the task, but she loved the little toy even more. You
Mhm,
know,
mhm, mhm.
But yeah. So here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are
It was a fun
every
little
day.
I feel like I had a counseling session with
But you
myself.
do. But you learn every day, Rachel. You learn
It was
every
nice.
day. Like I learn every day. You 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 do. You just and if you don't, like, wow, shame on you.
Mhm,
Like at the end of the day, like say, what did you learn?
mhm.
Because you have to learn something.
Mhm. No, I've been learning a lot and I enjoy it. You learn like I like the challenge, even like from working out, like going and
Mm.
from one week doing a heavier weight or just
Mhm.
doing this and seeing the results and um I like to see progress coming in here and cleaning it up
Mhm.
and just taking something on. I don't ever want to be complacent. I don't ever want to
No,
get
I don't
bored.
think that's
As busy as I
possible.
am, I don't know what I would do if I wasn't
Mhm.
busy, right? If I
Yeah, I don't
wasn't
think we allow ourselves to not be busy. And it's funny because I one of the things my takeaway when I was noticing my father as he aged, he didn't he enjoyed the busy. He enjoyed it. He enjoyed it and he did it every day. And he was very purposeful in his what he did. And I think that just carries from generation to generation. I mean, think about you when you're, young kid, and I think about all the girls, and it was all the nieces who would come over to my house, and you would stain.
Mhm.
We didn't. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than it was learning.
Mhm.
Better than
Who used
hiring.
to get up on the ladder? I hated getting on the
I
ladder
think
because
Melissa did.
I don't like heights. So there would always be
It'd
a
be Melissa,
there would always
Emily,
be
you.
a spot where we'd stop because you
Mm,
would need the ladder to get up high
mm.
by those 2
Oh,
windows that
yeah,
were in your
yeah, yeah, yeah,
somebody would do it.
yeah,
I can't
yeah.
remember who.
Probably Melissa, but yeah, but I remember that, and I think think about it goes to, like, what you teach your family right now when you and what you learned as a kid, like, think about the work ethic, like, we talked about it this weekend, like, think about the work ethic. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. I think what we have to do is slow down a little
Yeah.
and change it up because we you can't, like, you can't keep the pace,
Mhm.
do you even wanna keep the pace? Like, we have little projects we've been doing, and it's fun to see them, but I also think at the end of the week, it's nice to go out to dinner.
Mhm.
It's nice to say, "Oh, let's go for a walk."
Mhm.
So creating that balance, I think, is
Yeah.
so important.
No, it
It
is.
is so important, especially for you as a mom,
Mhm.
because you can have these activities, doing your exercise, making sure you're fit, and then you're having your duties, if you will, everything from A to Z. But then at the end of the day, you have this little human being, specifically Victoria,
Yeah.
that she's of an age where, mom, mom, and so she's looking for you
Yeah.
and she's looking for you because she loves you.
Uh-huh.
Now, Viv, of course, doesn't have you out of sight, but that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So,
Well, she's getting her time
yeah.
between the hours of 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. She
Right.
has a ball with me because
I'm
it's
sure
just me
she
and her.
does.
As
Right.
soon as I lay down, she drops a book on my face. She wanted the light on. She got down. She pulled all the toys off the shelf that were there. She brought them over, is playing with them. She said, remote. She got the
Oh,
remote. She has
yes,
a movie
remote.
on. She has a toy.
Yes.
She's eating her Cheerios. And this is at 4 a.m. Like, this is what's happening with me and her. And she's having a
She's a Pisces
she
through and through.
is that a Pisces
I
thing?
think she is. Will is
No,
this,
she is a Pisces,
well,
but
Will was the same way
yeah,
when he the same way. I see such similarities.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, but so that's my point is that the balance, because we could work and do those chores, but someone said this to me, I think when Stephen was born, you'll never get that time back if you don't take the time.
mhm, mhm.
You'll never get it back because like you said, look at this.
Yeah, because you can always
There's
find something to
You'll
do,
always find something
and so
to do.
that's
It's
why I
always
think
going
it's
to be
nice,
there.
especially having you around for things like, okay, yesterday we were doing what we were doing, but then, you do the turkey disguise with the kids,
That
or
was
you
fun.
bake the banana bread, or you stop and you go for your walks. Like, those things matter. Your
Yeah,
kids are going to remember that. They're not going to
yeah.
remember how clean the house was.
No, it will not.
I mean, maybe in a bad way. My mom was always cleaning and she would
Yeah.
never sit, like, really, my mom was always cleaning. She would never sit down and like watch a
Right,
show with you. She would always you'd be asking her to do something and she'd be like preoccupied because she was still cleaning or doing something,
right,
never really just being like present,
right.
So it
Yeah.
is important that the kids feel seen. And that's why, you go to the gymnastics and you're watching and you're doing it, or
Oh,
just
yeah.
all
I
those
noticed
things,
Vivian yesterday.
Yeah.
She was running to do her little hop, and then she look over, and I said, "Oh, I'm glad I'm standing there,"
Yeah.
because I'd give her the thumbs up,
Yeah.
and then she'd wave, so
Yeah.
it is important to them because
Yeah.
that teaches them too, they feel that love that we all look for,
Yeah.
but they're fun. They're fun. They're characters.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Yeah.
characters.
Yeah. It's funny, all the kids, everybody's so different in their own way,
Oh, yeah.
and
Our
everybody needs
parents know.
something different
Oh, yeah.
from their parents.
Oh,
Everybody.
yeah. Definite. And who would know? Like, I didn't know that until I had my own 2,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember saying something to Granny. I remember saying, "How did you deal with us? 8 different personalities,
Mm-hmm.
one crazier than the other."
Mm-hmm.
No, seriously, like, how did you do that? I think about that. My poor parents,
Mm-hmm.
not like poor in the sense that it wasn't a
But you don't
challenge,
have
but
a
it was
guide, so it is your poor
you
parents because
don't,
you're just
yeah.
trying to figure it out and do the best you can, and you can't be everything to everyone at the same
No,
time, and that's why it's so
no.
important when you have kids to make sure your relationship is strong,
Yeah,
because that I could see that just going to the wayside
yeah,
because you're so involved with all these kids and these different, like, your kids need you, like, always, right? But your
yeah.
kids, like, depend on you
They
until they're at
depend.
least
Forever,
forever, but,
forever,
like, think about the
forever.
babies and the
Yeah,
Vivian and
yeah,
that age, right? And then you have
yeah,
your middle school age, and then as they get older, but, like, your parents, because they had so many kids over all those years, it was must have just seemed like forever,
yeah.
you know?
I don't know, it's very interesting because my mom was with when I had Stephen, well, my mom was very available,
Mhm,
very available. I remember it so specifically, very,
mhm,
very available. And my dad would do anything, especially later on when the kids were grown. I would, like, if I'd had a bad day, even probably 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, 2 years ago, when I had a bad day, I would um, call my father up and I would be sitting outside on the porch in my house. And it would be the time you knew when my father was finished with his chores. So I'd give him a call and I think he was always eating,
mhm,
but I have this in my head, this tape of his voice, and he'd always say, "Hello," and we would start. And so my relationship with him evolved differently because he was very confidential.
mhm,
And you could have he was much a problem solver. So, like as you grow up, you need this from your parents, but your needs change as you grow older. And I
mhm,
remember I love that part of my life with him
mhm,
because it wasn't he was still the teacher,
mhm,
you know.
mhm.
He was such a teacher to me. Um, really. And he even up to the day that he passed, he taught me um like, there's a few expressions, like, I actually found his jots, like, little things he wrote
Mhm.
down. I think I have the original, but I have them on my phone, but, like, if you always did what you've always done, you're always gonna get what you got, you know?
Mhm.
Or, just take the time, be in the moment,
Mhm.
and love like it's your job.
Mhm.
I mean, Poppy said that, "Love like it's your job." So that's a very good sentiment to his character. What are we looking at? Oh, Byron. My cheeks.
From
Those my
smiling?
oh, Byron.
No, this
Oh,
was good,
it was fun.
you
It's
know?
good. It's very therapeutic.
It was very therapeutic.
It's good to take time to reflect on your just in general,
Yeah, I'm gonna make a
life.
podcast called
I think
Reflections.
I would love to do a podcast with Miles and Peyton
Yeah, parents and
because
kids, and just
because
hear it from your kids. That
I
probably would go viral.
that would be very interesting, because we're smart enough to anticipate what they're gonna say,
I don't think they're mature enough.
but they'd have to be because 'cause they're in front of the
Camera.
lights.
I know,
Yeah.
I just wonder if they would clam up and say nothing, or if they would really be able to, like, speak and give, like, tell how you're really feeling, or if they would just say, like, "I don't know," or, you wonder.
That's the middle school.
Yeah.
That's why they have, what are the classes that you take when you go to be a teacher or an educator? Like, you have to take K if you're K through 12, you have to take adolescent, pre-adolescent, adult, like, not everyone can teach. I remember teaching adults. I taught a class, I think it was for Corning Community, but it was held at, I think, Elmira High School, I believe. But I had adults, and I was amazed at how much preparation I had to do because there was no disruption in class.
Oh,
So the hour was a full hour of me teaching.
yeah.
It was I think I taught an accounting class, but it was me teaching them, and I didn't have anyone, harassing or disrupting, and I thought, "Holy mackerel, I have to be." It's so different. It was just a different it's all different.
Yeah.
Everything's different.
I mean, I could see that, that makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
Mhm.
You would just have people just, like, looking at you, waiting
Yeah.
for you to say
Yeah.
something next, and if
Yeah.
they didn't interrupt
They
you
were
with
so
questions
engaged.
and questions and
Right, they were so engaged.
disruptions, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure it was.
it was very different, but it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
Everything I think that we do in life should be enjoyable, and I think respect, they always
Yeah.
respect kids.
Well, this was a lot of fun,
It was
and
a
I'm
lot of
glad that
fun.
we were able to come in and sit and pause and talk about all these things. We had some laughs, some cries,
Yeah,
some
it's
just
okay.
good reminiscing. So,
Yeah.
we'll have to come back on here again and just chop it up.
Just chop it up.
But we're gonna
Chomp
just
on
keep
it.
chugging away,
Yes, we
you
are.
know. So,
And being healthy,
yeah.
because like Poppy said, what would he say? You're not only the best, what he would say, the best, living well is the best revenge, but he would say your health is your wealth. He'd
Yes.
always say that.
Yeah.
And coming from a man
That
who
is
was
true.
never on a prescription until he was 89, that's something right there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yes.